And I think that is really critical in today's market. I'm a big believer for myself and for I'm a business coach. I coach clients. I grow companies for a living. And I work with C-level execs and managers and salespeople, owners, leaders, etc. But now is the time to double down on your brand. Now is the time to double down on your content. Really, content is king. And I just want to find one thing that and so right now is really the goal. I mean, to me, it's about understanding what your brand is and how you can begin to double down. And to me, it's really important, especially right now, that content is critical. And, in its essence, a brand is a relationship between a product and a consumer. And understanding, so there's a couple steps. So to me, understanding your message and your frequency is really critical. Understanding the frequency and vibration at which you run. And, a lot of times people don't understand that element of the business, or they understand it, but they don't necessarily jump into it. Because the messaging, and I'm sure, Alante, you see this, especially with Facebook, one word can make a huge difference on how you market, and the effectiveness and the impact that it has, not only in the immediate, but in the long term. And so we all have all of these different clients. And to me, when I look at how we should be looking at ourselves, I'm a big believer that each person really needs to own not only their business brand, but their personal brand, right? We all have this internal brand and this external brand, but we also have a brand that we want to kind of put out to the world. Hopefully they're pretty in sync. But the way I look at it is, it's almost like we're kind of mini Netflix stations, right? We want to be a resource where people can go, or Hulu, whatever, and get a plethora of content and information and choose the way they want it, when they want it. And so what's important about that is that it means that we have to provide and be pushing out a lot of different types of content. And if we're doing that on a consistent basis, then it's really, then we start to see the benefits of it. And so let's talk about that, because a lot of times some people, I think, get this element of it wrong. We all have different client types, and we all have taken, I'm sure, some level of personality types, etc. But really, it's about understanding the essence of that we all, as individuals, have some percentage of kinesthetic, auditory, and visualness to us all. One thing we don't know when we are marketing specifically to people is what percentage each person is of those things. And so it's really important that when we brand ourselves and when we market ourselves, we make sure that everything we do, or a collection of what we do, targets the kinesthetic, the auditory, and the visual for the receiver, so they can digest everything that we're doing. And the way it works is through consistency, doing a lot of different things on a consistent basis, so you become somewhat of a predictable, knowledgeable resource to your ambassadors. So what do I mean about ambassadors? It's very common, and Alante, I'd love your take on this, that many times we look at, we look at Facebook, and we look at LinkedIn, and we look at Instagram, and many people get very obsessed about the likes and the followers. But really, it's about how are you marketing and branding your product, your content, doubling down on your content. So you're building ambassadors, brand ambassadors, to grow your business. And those are people that sing your praises, use you, or refer you business. And so the question really is not how many followers or how many likes do I have, but the question really is how many ambassadors do I need to double my business, to then double it again, to triple it. And so that number starts where we start with the end in mind. Where do we want to grow our business? Well, let's say we want to grow our business to $1 million business. Well, how many ambassadors do I need to talk about me, refer me business, etc.? Maybe that's 15, maybe that's 5, maybe that's 50, maybe that's 1,000. I don't know. But then you look at how quantitatively you begin to grow those. So if you have 5 and each of those 5 tell one person about you, then you have 10. How long does it take to get those 5 and then those 10? Could take a year, could take 18 months. But 18 months later, those 10 people tell one person each. Now you now have 20. Well, now you've built your brand at a higher level. So when they see and they learn more, those ambassadors many times will convert faster. And then those 20 people tell one person each. And then all of a sudden you have 40 people singing your praises. So when we look at brands today, we can see the ones where, they kind of take off and then they balance out because they lose their ambassadors. Maybe it's a certain age group or a certain demographic, or maybe it's just a trend. We don't know. But if they're not reinventing themselves, then that's a problem. And that's when we get into talking about branding when it comes to a couple other things that I want to kind of dissect. How do we look at branding? But before, and kind of the pillars of branding. But before we get in there, I want to see if there's any questions.
As we have businesses, this is Jason Blanks with the Southwest
Hey,
Chamber. As we have businesses that are looking to get engaged with our agency, what we're seeing is of course consistent branding is a big thing, but one thing that we're seeing is that I'm getting questions on how our branding is going out. And so my question to you is yes, we're using the regular platforms to really push ourselves. And I don't know if this is the right way I'm trying to say it, but should we be looking at all platforms for like an older demographic, or should we stay within a platform that's like the social media-esque style platforms?
Well, how do you mean exactly? When you say platforms, are you talking only social media? What are you?
So right now we try to make sure our branding with our website is consistent with our social media pushes that we put out. But I recently received a request to make sure that we kind of gravitate back to just the email blasts in general, because I guess there's an older demographic that may not be reaching us. And I'm not quite sure if this is a branding question or if this is a connection question. So.
Well, I think, for Alante, what do you think about that?
Yeah. So, Jason, first I'll ask you do you guys have a business page on your social media platforms? It's a business page?
Yes.
Specifically Facebook?
Yes.
Okay. So, one thing is, you may have a lot of, and I'm not sure if this is the issue, but Facebook doesn't allow you to show, posts that are not ads or paid for to your entire following.
Oh.
So if you make a post or you may have 7,000 followers, but if you just put a post on your business page, maybe 70 of them Facebook is actually allowing to view that post. Right. Because that's how Facebook makes their money. So they're not going to just let you do all your free advertisement. They want you to boost that post. They want you to spin ads. So what they only allow you a certain percentage to actually see those ads. So that may be the dilemma with the social media part, especially if it's a business page.
Got it. Thank you. And I apologize, it kind of was off subject, but.
No, it's not off subject at all.
Yeah.
But I think you need to understand, one of the things you need to do is you need to understand the ask and attract of what each of the individual people within your client reach is. And so how you ask for business in email and social and mailing lists and your website is going to be different and how you're going to ask them to come to events or things of that nature is going to be different in every platform. It's going to be different on Facebook than it is on Instagram, than it is potentially on LinkedIn. Sometimes it's going to be the same. Sometimes, the nuances are there. But it's important to remember you gotta look at each one, and you gotta know what do you need to, and what do you want to attract them to. Now, what's the ask in a newsletter, right? It's just going to be different. So you just got to pay a little bit closer attention to that.
Thank you.
Yeah, of course. And when we talk about branding, to me, one of the things, as we talk about branding, as we talked about, we have an internal and we have an external brand. And these are a couple of things I think that are really important when it comes to looking at our brand. One is consistency, right? A story I share sometimes is I have a podcast. I have a couple of podcasts. And one of my podcasts I did just as a limited support to a book I wrote, the Think Big Movement. And there was 65 episodes. And it was great. And it went out once a week and et cetera. Another one is a sales podcast I have with a buddy of mine. And it kind of was organically slow growth and it's a ton of fun. But I have a business podcast that is about, over 220 some episodes. And that podcast, once I hit 100 episodes, 100 interviews, I started having booking agencies around the world book people. And every day I get about 1 or 2 requests to get people on the show. And the reason I bring it up is because it took 100 episodes for that to happen, right? It was me reaching out to people for the first 100, and I still reach out to people. But it is, if I didn't ever want to reach out to anybody, I wouldn't have to, because I literally get, I think I've gotten 12 requests this week. So my point is not to impress anybody, but to impress upon the idea that you have to drip, you have to stay consistent, and you have to grow. And right now, when the market is in a crisis, it's even more important to get out there with the right messaging, the balance of mind, body, spirit, empathy, etc. But unlike 2008, when the market stopped and money stopped, money just slowed down right now. And so there's still business to be done. There are still opportunities, and there's still people growing. And we need to be conscious more than ever of our brand, because we're fighting for a lot of people's attention. And so as we look at the brand, a couple of things to think about is really ask yourself the question, what is your brand? Right? And many people don't know what their brand is as an individual or as a company, right? What's your intellectual property, right? What are you the trusted advisor for, and how are you building relationship capital in that? And then how are you creating your brand, and what does your brand convey? Those are really important things, right? Sometimes we think it conveys one thing, but we don't ask. We haven't done a 360. We haven't reached out to mentors, advisors, coaches to say, hey, let's dive a little bit deeper. And then it's understanding, what is your brand, right? Are clients calling you because they want to spend time with you, right? What is that brand? Are you accessible? Are you approachable? Are you a trusted advisor? And then how are you keeping your brand relevant, and what's your legacy, and how innovative are you, right? Right now, a lot of times people are thinking, well, I'm not really sure what to do. Well, that's okay. But reach out to people that can help you figure out how to be innovative, how to start a podcast, how to start original content, how to stay consistent. And then you look at it and say, how do I manage my brand, right? How do I know the full essence of my brand? Do people have a visceral reaction in a positive way? Am I a master connector within my brand? And then how do I expand my brand? How do I continually expand it so I'm not stale? How do I expand it so I can anticipate what clients want? That's all about the growth. Today it's more important to grow your brand than ever, because artificial intelligence and technology is taking us into a direction where one day soon there's going to be an Alexa in all of our kitchens, and we're going to say, hey, Alexa, I need a Facebook advertiser. Who should I call? And they're going to give us one name. And so if we haven't built our names, the Google, what we see in Google now is not going to be there forever. You're going to have to pay a lot of money to be on that first Alexa call. Now that's just me, thinking about it, but we have to be able to build our brand in order for people to remember us. Otherwise, people like to take the thinking out of things, we have to build our ambassadors. We have to build our brand ambassadors that are promoting us. And then what comes behind that is impeccable follow-up as part of our brand, impeccable accessibility, impeccable approachability, and really guiding our clients to, you know, to where they need to go before they even know it. And really just focusing on where the market is going and how we can help them get there, and providing rich content. I'm a big believer in our brand. We need to be providing, you know, I call it very USA Today type marketing, things that people can digest in 30 seconds or less. And then you have the New York Times and Wall Street Journal, the white papers, the longer blogs, the videos, the podcasting, right? The clever out of the box thinking that you're doing. And those things are really, really important that you can do now while we are at home working remotely. Well, this is probably going to be something that we are going to have to live with in some way for the next 12 to 18 months, frankly. So just some stuff to think about. I see, oh, it says chat. Okay. So, okay, sorry, I didn't see that. So yeah, so any questions so far? I know there's a bunch of people on the call, so, you know, this is much better if it's interactive. I prefer really to do kind of real life coaching.
What do you think about postcards as a media for getting a message out?
You know, Devon, I like postcards. I think right now mail is, you know, I can just speak for myself. I get my mail, I put it in a bag, I don't touch it for 3 days. I throw away everything that isn't relevant, a bill or a check. Because I don't want to touch it. And I'll probably be that way for the next 12 to 18 months. I don't want to hold mail or have that in my house.
Really? Okay.
But historically, I think postcards are great, right? Pre-COVID, I think postcards are great because people actually get less mail. But today, people are not, for the next 12, 18 months, going to grab a thing and look at it and hold it. And because there's a lot that you got to wash your hands after. There's a lot that has to do with it. And so I'm not, if I'm a broker today, I know Devon because we worked together at Marcus and Millichat many, many years ago. But if I'm a broker today, I'm not sending out any mailers at all.
Okay.
I'm upping my newsletter. I'm upping my one-on-one. I'm upping my texting. I'm upping my virtual coffee meetings with clients. I'm upping my calls. I'm talking to them about deals. I'm not sending or investing in postcards right now. At least during COVID, I'm not.
Excuse me, John.
Yeah.
I have a quick question. How would you brand your texting? Is that a certain format that you would just put in for a text message that would just go out to a group of individuals, or how is that a special look? I guess that's
all my texting is one-on-one. So
got it.
You know, it's really easy to text people, text them an article, right? Text them a PDF or a picture of a postcard, Devon. But yeah, I don't use mass texting because then it just looks like you're mass texting.
Got it.
But you can get through 30 texts, like following up with clients very quickly. And I think clients really like texting. And and if they have an iPhone and you're going iPhone to iPhone, you can show them kind of what a PDF postcard would be, Devon, where they can spend time looking at it. You can text them the highlights, or you can email. Mm-hmm. But I think that those are But I think texting is important right now.
Thank you.
Yeah. What else? What other questions? Lynn, Ann, welcome. Sheila, Dee.
Hello.
Hi. And do you have any questions, anybody?
Not yet.
Okay. So, one of the things also I think is really important to think about is how we're building relationship capital with our brand. That is really, really important. And so a lot of times we're not thinking about ambassadors, we're not thinking about building relationship capital and what we need to do in order to really grow and look at everything, you know, as we're building relationship capital. And then on another pillar, really looking at things quantitatively. A lot of times we don't spend enough time looking at the metrics, right? So if I want to grow my business to A, B, and C over here, I got to reverse engineer all the nitty gritty things, be very specific and measurable, and quantify everything that I'm doing along the way. So that's one of the things that I think is really, really important. And looking at how you can quantify all of this is key. And most people just kind of go kind of day to day, and they're not looking at, hey, quantitatively, what does this mean for me and my company?
I believe that Lynn, is that a question that you were asking of John in the chat? Miss Gray?
Yes.
Was this a question for John?
Yes.
If I'm a brand ambassador for your business, how are you best utilizing me to grow and expand your business? What is your direct ask of me? Well, if I'm a brand ambassador, you're talking generically, Lynn, I'm assuming, right? If I'm a brand ambassador for any business, how is that company best utilizing you? Lynn?
Yes, that's correct.
Right. Well, that company is best utilizing you by keeping you educated, keeping you really educated, staying in front of you, you know, being there to support you, being impeccable with the way that they're providing a service and business for you. And so, you know, it's the ultimate raving fans, customer experience, client experience, center of influence experience. You know, when you refer somebody to that company is treating them as the VIP as they should, with impeccable follow-up, etc. It really is a two-way street. And so it's not so much, you know, it's really, really important. What's the direct ask? I don't necessarily know if it's so much a direct ask as it is things just come from it. Now the ask could be two of the following questions. Do you know anybody that can help me? Do you know anybody I can help? Right? Those questions are very productive questions where a lot of times people don't ask those things when the timing's right, but those types of questions can go a long way. And they don't feel salesy, which is one of the things that I think works really, really well. Anything else? Okay.
No, could you repeat those questions one more time? Those are really great.
Sure. Do you know anyone that can help me? And do you know anyone I can help?
Thank you.
Yeah, of course. You know, and those are just questions that don't make people feel uncomfortable. So I always like to kind of ask things that can break down into the simple, and those are some simple questions. You know, content is really important. You know, content, I know I talked about this earlier, content is king. You know, whatever you're doing, I'd love to hear a little bit about some of the content that you're creating, because really it's about doubling down on that content, building that content, and giving people a ton of content on a consistent basis, especially right now. It is so important.
For the chamber, what we ended up doing was we set up a COVID-19 toolkit on our main page. And so what we're doing, and I don't know if you can see, but we're recording our webinars and they're going into that toolkit so that as people are looking for resources similar to discussions about marketing and branding, like your expert like yourself, they can go there to find that information. This whole virtual-based learning is new to us. So we've been trying to work with marketing experts similar to yourself to help us kind of make that shift to make sure that the content is available and this helps us overall drive more business to our agency.
Sure.
Yep.
Yeah, that's important stuff. And so, any other questions as we kind of keep on going? Okay. So, so what I'm going to encourage everybody to really do is map out, if you don't already have, if you don't already have an editorial calendar, that really is that really maps out everything that you possibly need to do. And so I would like to hear some of the things that people are doing as far as marketing, so we can kind of maybe talk about some real life things, some real life examples. What is everybody accomplishing? What kind of content are people putting out there?
Commercial real estate business aside for a minute. We started a scholarship fund in my wife's name 5 years ago. And we generally have a banquet every May to celebrate the new scholarship winners. And that's part of our fundraising as well. But this year, of course, not an alternative because it's just not happening. So we did a little marketing piece. We did a postcard that we sent to our contributors in the past and some friends of the organization. Of course, pulling them to our webpage and asking them to contribute, and of course, acknowledging the new graduates, the new scholarship winners. And then we followed that up with an email that reflected the postcard essentially. And we're making phone calls back to that same group. And of course, in the process of doing that, it looks like our contributions this year will exceed the ones before when we had a real live event, because people can get the same amount and we don't have the expense of paying for a meal. But the key message there is that it's a three-prong approach. The email, the postcard, and then of course the follow-up phone call from a board member that has given us that success in getting the scholarship fund more money for our funds.
Yeah, that sounds great, Devon. And then you can repurpose. It shows that you have a heart, and things of that nature. Outside of the scholarship, what types of things are you doing?
Well, I do a lot of work with small tenants on the leasing side for the business, and of course, a lot of those guys are concerned about the rent and having access to the loan programs from CARE and those kind of things. So I made sure that I initially contacted all of them, letting them know what kind of programs were available to support them during this time frame. Now, obviously, there's no direct business out of that, immediately. But in terms of getting referrals, in terms of being on their list later on, when the business needs change and they need more space, obviously I raise my value in their eyes by doing that.
Yeah. Okay, good. And what are you doing to build your brand from a content standpoint?
Well, that's why I'm listening to this message, so I can learn how to do this. I can do more of that. I want to do more of that. I get more referrals. Referrals drive my business right now, again, because I'm working with a clientele that I kind of know. Small businesses and nonprofits is essentially what I do a lot of work with.
Yeah.
And that's that especially nonprofits. It's not a big community. It's large in Detroit in a way, but it's kind of a close-knit community. So once you begin to infiltrate that group, you get referrals pretty easily. So I am getting those referrals pretty easily. And the hands-on delivery of a solution that works directly for them is what I've been doing. But and then I broadcast that result that I got for XYZ to the community.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. The key is thanks, Devon. That sounds good. The key is really staying consistent with lots of different types of content, especially in your space right now. There's a lot of things going on with leasing, with stores that are closed, and will they come back, and cash buyers versus lenders, people that can get lending, PPPs. I mean, there's so many things to write about, and how it's and what's going on with COVID and how it affects your industry specifically. And you want to do your best to be a thought leader if you can in that space. on a consistent basis to keep people in front of everything that's going on. And so, to me, the one, and I don't know what everybody's doing on this call, but the once a month, marketing piece just doesn't work anymore. You need to be overly consistent. You need to over communicate. You need to be tight in the way that you message, and give people things to listen to, things to watch, and things to read. And if you're doing that on a consistent basis, then you're hitting all of these different audiences. And it takes a lot of time to prep, and it takes time to do it. So you can't do it all at once. I understand that. But you need to really map out an editorial calendar and say, okay, this is what I'm going to do in May. This is what I'm going to do in June. This is what I'm going to do in July. This is what I'm going to do in August. And then you reverse engineer some of the things you got to do to actually start building the content, reaching out to resources, reaching out to potential editors, reaching out to people that can actually help you create content, and mentors that can guide you in the right direction on what to do, how to do it, how consistently, how to market it, how to brand it, how to give the visual of it, and all of those elements.
Hey John, this is Chris Jackson. Can I?
Hey Chris, how are you?
Doing well, thanks. So sorry I didn't have a chance to introduce myself in the beginning, but I do have a couple of examples with the companies that I'm part owner of that I'd like to share and just get some feedback on, if that's okay. So the first one I'll share is I'm part owner of a few dispensaries. So we have 2 retail provisioning center dispensaries, one in Ypsilanti and one in Detroit, and soon one in Southfield. We were just approved for a permit there. So, we've been deemed essential because of the medicine that we sell to patients. So that's been nice, right? That we haven't had to shut down our business completely, but we did have to transition our process altogether, right? So we are curbside and delivery only, similar to restaurants now. And so it's a different way of doing business. We've had to figure out, the fact that we can't upsell anymore, right? Because part of a retail experience is walking in and adding things to your cart. Whereas people are ordering things in advance and they know exactly what they want now. So that's been interesting, but we do a lot of virtual content, but we also have to be very careful, right? Because, Facebook and Google, as of now, until federal legalization happens, they probably aren't going to allow us to pay for advertising or anything like that.
Right.
Cannabis.
A lot of compliance.
So, right, exactly.
So you can use Facebook to, and I guess this is another discussion, but I know that some people think that it's just no way that you can do it, but there is a way, Chris.
Okay, so offline, maybe then would love to connect with you and understand that. So what we've been doing so far as promoting our content, one of the things that we have been taking advantage of is social media quite a bit. Most of our following is on social media, and what we've been doing so far as the dispensaries are concerned is we've been making sure that we acknowledge people who are regulars on a very, very consistent basis, giving them shout outs. And one of the things that I found on social media in particular is the more that you engage and the more that your content will be seen by your following, right? So I think some people don't engage or like enough or comment or respond to direct messages. And that has to be that's a part of that algorithm, I believe, that, correct me if I'm wrong, but it's a part of that algorithm that basically makes more people have access to the content that you publish. So that's that end of it. And then something that may be more applicable to the conversation, because not everybody's in the cannabis space, is on the other end, I have a merchandising company and we're getting ready to do a relaunch. And part of what we've done is leverage influencers without them having to be influencers necessarily. So a quick example is recently Michael Jordan's number 5s just got relaunched. And so it has like an elephant print on it. Our logo for Hefe is an elephant. And so what we've done is we've created a clothing item that the logo has that elephant print on it, and we did it in honor of the Michael Jordan 5s, if you will.
Yeah.
And so that's the way that we've been creatively trying to make sure we can still engage in the midst of what's going on.
Yeah. I think one of the things I can speak to is the engaging is really, really important from a branding standpoint specifically. To me, you want to kind of pick a number, whether it's 5, 10, 15 minutes a day, and you want to be commenting on, things on LinkedIn, Instagram, Facebook. That's gonna get you seen by other people. And that's really important. And that takes time. And sometimes, people will say, well, I'll do 15 minutes every day, but really you got to kind of divide it up, because some days you don't feel like 15 minutes and, and some days you got 5, but I would say 5, 6 days a week, you want to be commenting consciously, on social media to grow your brand. Alante, you can probably speak a little bit more intelligently on that as far as the power of what it does, specifically on Facebook.
Yeah, definitely. Whenever, to piggyback off of what you were saying, John, whenever you're engaging any type of goal or objective via Facebook, it's really good to plan that out. So whether that goal be receiving likes, for brand awareness that you're trying to do, or if you're most companies, their main goal is to get clients, then you set those reactions or engagements that you want before you actually do that. Because, like, to your point, John, at the very beginning, you said all these people get likes and followers, but it really doesn't do anything for your business if that's not your real true goals. So whenever you're going to engage on social media, if you have what you want, right, before you jump on those platforms, or specifically Facebook, because Facebook has algorithms for a lot of stuff. So if you don't know what you're doing and you have a business page, you're going to be wasting time. So as long as you have those goals prior to jumping on Facebook, then you can actually engage your audience specifically to obtain that objective and or create that content that specifically helps you get to that goal.
And Alante, I don't know if you do this, but for those of you on the call who are looking to build your brand, you need social media people to help you. It is critical. I have somebody who does all my social posting, who guides me on all of that. I have a team of 3 editors and writers who help me write my contents through my direction. A lot of times I'll write something, they'll edit it. Sometimes I have to write multiple things at the same time. So I'll write something, they'll edit it, they'll interview me, they'll write something after interviewing me. So it's, you need the support and help. It's really difficult to do it all yourself because you want to run your business on a day-to-day basis. And then you want to understand and reach out to mentors, like the Alantes of the world, who can say, hey, this is how you use Facebook, right? There's also there's also a LinkedIn person named Brenda Meller. I use her to go for all my LinkedIn stuff because she teaches me how to use LinkedIn. A lot of times people don't know how to use LinkedIn. And so if you go to my website on my podcast, I just recently interviewed Brenda. You can check out and you can call her, tell her you're, a new friend of mine. But it's really, really critical that you reach out to people that teach you how to use, because it's not just, post and go. There's a lot of tricks of things that you will never probably know because you're not in it every day. And it's the nuances. I'm a big fan of mentors. I think we should all have a minimum of 3. We need them to help grow every element of our business and our life. So, and that's really important when it comes to growing your brand as well, right? Expand your network of mentors, which I think is absolutely key. So any other questions? Thanks, Alante. That was great.
Hey, we did have a question that just came through. It was from Mrs. Sheila Bird. In our business, we have branded videos that are pre-made to share. What is the recommendation for posting?
Well, I don't know. How long are the videos, Sheila?
They're usually about, we have some that are about short, 5 minutes to some that are actually maybe about 20 minutes long.
Okay, so
Independent.
So those are really long in order to, is from a branding standpoint to share. Really, if you want people to share a video, it should be under a minute, 30 seconds to a minute, max 2 minutes. Otherwise, people are, you know, unless you're somebody like a Gary V or somebody like a Bob Proctor or, you know, you name the big name person. And even then it's hard to watch a 5-minute video. You know, it just, and it's to share, right? So when you're talking about sharing, people will share a video that is more, you know, just shorter. That makes a strong impact, because if they share something that's too long, it affects their brand. So if it's quality and there's a lot of great content in it, but if I were you, and I don't know what videos you're talking about, Sheila, but I would figure out a way to offer different variations of, you know, there's studies that show people have 10-minute videos, but when they make them in 2-minute segments, people are more apt to go 2 minutes to 2 minutes and watch the whole series of 5 instead of sit down and watch 10. And so I would just think about how you're tooling those, you know, and people share. I do a Facebook Live every day. And about 2 days ago, I interviewed a nurse on the front lines of COVID. And so that was a 30-minute interview, and it got 23 shares, but it's because it was a nurse on the front lines, right? People are really hungry, right? Most of the interviews maybe get 0 to, you know, 3 or 4 shares because they're long but they're interviews, so they can be long. But if it's just content about your brand, it's got to be content rich. It's got to provide value. It can't be about you, and it's got to be about what it can do for the person watching it. Does that make sense?
Yes, it does. Thank you. Appreciate those answers.
Sure. Thanks for asking a question. Any other questions? Anne looks like she's asking a question, but I think she's just multitasking. She got like her phone. She got that. I mean, there's a lot going on with Anne. So yeah, I just want to leave the last couple of minutes for questions, and just leave you with this. If you don't know what to do because you're almost like frozen because of what you're hearing right now, it's really, here's the first beginning steps. Step 1, identify what your brand is. Step 2, identify what your message is. Step 3, identify the different messages for all the different buckets of potential clients and prospects. Next step, create marketing and messaging for each of those different groups, and then create an editorial calendar, and then start building. If you can lower the bar and start doing small things, right? Do 1 thing a week, then do 2 things a week, then do 3 things a week, then do 4 things a week, but start building on all of the platforms. In my opinion, we should all be on Facebook, LinkedIn, and Twitter. I'm on Twitter. I get no business from it, but I'm on it, and I post because I need to be on Twitter. Facebook and LinkedIn and Instagram are great for my business. I do not do TikTok, although I know a lot of adults are starting to do TikTok, I think, because they're just going stir crazy at home. But I think we're going to see a lot more TikTok and how that gets used, right? Exactly, right. So, but dive in, mailing lists, learn texting, virtual coffee meetings, using video, having your own podcast. I mean, be the Netflix of your industry and hit the senses consistently and be the predictable value add person that your clients think of and pick up the phone and call and value their time while they're spending it with you.
Thank you, John.
Yeah, my pleasure.
That
Any
was-
other questions? And now I want to say this too, Jason, real quickly.
Sure.
People are sensitive right now, and I understand that they should be. We have to be very careful in our messaging. But business has not stopped. It's just slowed down. It used to be, 7 weeks ago, we had to uncover 10 rocks. Now we got to uncover 100 rocks. We have to work harder. We have to exert more energy. We have to be more creative and more innovative today than we did 2 months ago. But that's a good thing, because the strong will survive, right? My heart and prayers go out to everybody affected by COVID. But from a business perspective, money did not stop like it did in 08. It just, it slowed down. And we need to just stay in the game. Don't go to the sidelines, and just stay focused.
Thank you, John. The Southwood Area Chamber of Commerce would like to thank every single participant on this call today. I thank you for your participation. I asked everyone for the emails today because John has a digital book that we would like to send to everyone. So to engage, John, please share the information so that they can definitely engage with you offline. And I know we're going to email them some additional information, but can you share your information?
Sure. JohnDwoskin.com is my website. My cell phone is here, and my email is there. And I have a ton of podcast blogs. I mean, I have a ton of content on my site to help anybody, grow their business, videos, ebooks, podcasts. I mean, it's pretty endless, and it gets updated almost every day.
Awesome. Thank you. Thank you.
Well, I appreciate all of you, and I wish you all, stay safe, stay healthy. Devon, it was great to see. I mean, it was great to see everybody, but I know Devon, so it was great to see him. And Jason, great to meet you face to face.
Pleasure to meet you.
I wish everybody a lot of success and a lot of safety. So
awesome.
Stay healthy.
All right. Thank you for your time.
All right. Thanks, guys. Appreciate
Thanks so much, everyone.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Thanks, everybody.
Alante.
Yeah.
Hey, well, hold on.